All right, so get ready because today we're going to take a deep dive into a really fascinating and honestly kind of unnerving topic, and that's artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Specifically, artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting, even just that term AGI, like, it already sparks so much debate
Right.
because we're talking about these AI systems that could theoretically perform almost any cognitive task that, like, a human can.
Right.
And not just perform it,
Yeah.
but do it better than us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, where does that leave us?
Right?
So, our source material for today's deep dive is actually an interview with Ben Buchanan.
Okay.
He's the former special advisor for AI in the Biden White House.
Wow.
And this was from the Ezra Klein show.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
And he offers like a really interesting perspective, as a former insider
Yeah.
on, how the government is approaching this whole AI thing.
Well, yeah, and what's so interesting is that Buchanan himself is not, like, completely comfortable with that term AGI. But he uses it because it's become kind of the common shorthand for this concept.
Right. It's like everybody's using this phrase, but even the experts are still like, well, what does it actually mean?
Right, exactly. And, sometimes it's easy to get lost in the abstract.
Yeah.
But Buchanan actually brings it down to earth with a real-world example.
Okay.
DeepSeek. Have you heard of this?
No.
So DeepSeek is this AI system that can write a complex research brief
Oh.
in minutes,
Oh my gosh.
like matching the quality of human experts.
Okay, so hold on. That's not just like research assistants.
Right.
That's potential disruption across like all sorts of fields
Exactly.
that require deep analysis. Like what happens to those jobs?
That is the question, right? Like, if AI can analyze that quickly, what does that mean for lawyers?
Right.
What does that mean for financial analysts?
Journalists even.
Journals even. Like, every profession
Right.
is going to have to grapple with this.
Yeah.
We're going to actually explore that whole future of work question a little bit later in the episode.
sick.
But first, I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about the global implications of all of this.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Buchanan says that the U.S. government sees getting to AGI before China
Boy.
as paramount for national security.
It's giving major space race vibes, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like he even quotes Kennedy about shaping this new technological frontier.
It's that same idea of like a defining moment in history.
Yeah.
But this time the ocean isn't space, it's AI.
Yeah.
And Buchanan lays out some pretty stark scenarios if China reaches AGI first,
Okay.
especially when it comes to things like cyber warfare and intelligence.
So it's not just keeping up. It's like we need to be ahead to actually protect ourselves.
Think about AI sifting through like mountains of data, finding vulnerabilities in software at like lightning speed.
Yeah.
That gives a huge advantage in cyber attacks.
For sure.
Buchanan also points out that AI could be used to write more secure code in the first place,
Okay.
making systems tougher to hack.
So it's like a double-edged sword. More powerful offense, but also stronger defense.
It all boils down to who wields this technology and how.
Right.
And this leads us to another aspect that Buchanan brings up,
Okay.
which is the potential for AI to supercharge surveillance states.
Oh,
This is where things start to get a little bit,
scary.
a little bit like a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, like we know AI can analyze massive amounts of data, but what happens when that's used for constant monitoring?
Right. Buchanan is particularly worried about the erosion of privacy and civil liberties, even in democracies like the U.S.
Right.
He actually quotes this economist, Sam Hammond, who suggests that AI could lead to perfect enforcement of laws,
Perfect enforcement. Whoa.
which could make our current legal system seem like incredibly restrictive.
It's almost like we're talking about two different realities here.
Yeah.
On the one hand, the U.S. needs to be ahead in AI for security.
Right.
But on the other hand, we risk creating a society where the government is always watching.
It's a tough
It's a tough situation.
It's a real dilemma. And it brings us to another hot topic that Buchanan mentions, which is this debate over open weight AI systems.
Okay, can you break that down for us? What does open weight even mean?
Yeah, so when an AI system is trained, it develops these things called weights.
Okay.
And you can think of weights kind of like the connections between neurons in our brains.
Okay.
And some companies decide to make these weights public,
Interesting.
so anyone can access and use them. That's what we mean by open weight.
So it's like open sourcing,
Yeah.
which we think of as a good thing, right? Sharing knowledge. So
But-
what's the problem here?
Well, the problem is that while open weight systems can drive innovation,
Yeah.
they also make powerful AI accessible to people with potentially bad intentions.
Oh, so it's like handing out the recipe for a potentially dangerous invention.
It's a really good way to put it, yeah.
Oh,
So the Biden administration actually tackled this issue by requiring companies to share safety test results for these systems.
okay.
But, the debate over open weight AI is far from settled.
Right. It seems like the challenge is striking that balance, right?
Yeah.
Between encouraging progress, but also preventing potential misuse.
Absolutely.
But how do you do that when technology moves so fast?
Yeah, that's what Buchanan calls the speed problem.
The speed problem.
He
Yeah.
says that the government in particular needs to become much more agile and adaptable.
Makes sense.
He points to his own role in the White House
Yeah.
as a sign that, okay, at least the Biden administration was trying to address this.
Okay.
But he admits they have a long way to go.
Yeah. It's like trying to steer a giant ship when the currents are changing faster than you can adjust the rudder.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the national security risks, the privacy concerns, but there's also this idea of an opportunity gap with AI.
Right.
What did Buchanan have to say about that?
Well, it's interesting. He highlights the potential for AI to revolutionize fields like drug discovery.
Okay, yeah.
So imagine AI helping to develop life-saving treatments at an unprecedented pace.
That would be incredible.
Right. But Buchanan also warns that these breakthroughs could be held back by real-world bottlenecks,
Like what?
like things like slow clinical trial processes.
Oh, so even if AI delivers these incredible medical advances, our systems might not be ready to implement them quickly enough.
It's like having this revolutionary new car, but you're still stuck on a dirt road.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
So it raises the question, can we adapt our systems and structures
Yeah.
to fully benefit from AI's potential?
Right.
Or will we be held back by the limitations of our current way of doing things?
I think that's a question we're all going to have to answer.
Yeah, okay, so far this is a lot to process.
Yeah.
We've got this incredibly powerful technology emerging with the potential to change everything from national security to healthcare.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to figure out how to manage it and make sure it's used responsibly.
For sure.
It's complex.
Absolutely.
But Buchanan also emphasizes the need to explore how AI can be a force for good,
Yes.
particularly when it comes to the future of work.
Right. The whole pro-worker AI paradox, right?
How do you reconcile that potential for job displacement with the desire to use AI in a way that benefits workers?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And that's where things get even more interesting and perhaps a little uncomfortable.
All right, I'm ready to unpack that discomfort. Let's dive into that.
Let's do it. So Buchanan actually dives into some real-world examples of jobs that could be vulnerable.
Okay.
Think about things like marketing roles.
Okay.
AI can already analyze consumer data,
Right.
craft targeted messages
Yeah.
in ways that humans might just struggle to keep up with.
That makes sense, but, retraining is often touted as the solution for job displacement, right?
Right.
So why isn't that enough in this case?
Well, Buchanan argues that, traditional retraining might not be enough
Okay.
if the pace of AI disruption is as fast as some experts are predicting.
Right.
It's not just about learning new skills.
Yeah.
It's about adapting to an entirely new way of working alongside these systems.
So what does that look like? What kind of new thinking is needed when it comes to the future of work in this AI-driven world?
Well, Buchanan doesn't claim to have all the answers.
Right.
But he does admit that there's a shared discomfort
Yeah.
with the limited quality of current thinking on this issue.
It's we don't even know what we don't know.
Exactly. And he's basically saying that we need to move beyond the usual talking points
Yeah.
and come up with some truly innovative solutions.
One thing that struck me was how different AI development has been compared to other revolutionary technologies.
Exactly.
Buchanan emphasizes that the private sector has been driving this revolution, unlike, say, the development of nuclear weapons or even the internet.
That's a really insightful observation.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's a completely different landscape.
Yeah.
And Buchanan points out that this has created this unique challenge for governments, right?
Well,
They're trying to
okay.
play catch up and figure out how to regulate something that's evolving at warp speed
Yeah.
and is so deeply entwined with private industry.
It's almost like the government's trying to impose rules on a game that's already in progress
Yeah.
with players who are constantly changing the rules themselves.
Exactly. And this lack of control, it seems to be a major source of anxiety for policymakers.
Yeah, I bet.
They're caught between wanting to stay ahead in the global AI race,
Right.
but also having this very real concern about unleashing something that they don't fully understand.
Right. So it's not just about regulating AI, it's about understanding it deeply enough
Yes.
to actually create effective policies.
Right.
That sounds like a very tall order.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it leads to this other really interesting point that Buchanan raises,
Okay.
which is this tension between wanting to be at the forefront of AI for like national security reasons,
Right.
but also being mindful of the potential ethical risks.
It's like walking a tightrope.
Totally.
On the one hand, you don't want to stifle innovation or fall behind other nations. But on the other hand, you don't want to create something that could have like unintended consequences.
Buchanan seems to be advocating for like a more cautious and deliberate approach.
Okay.
He talks about the need for more research, more open dialogue, more international cooperation,
Even with rivals like China.
even with rivals like China.
So essentially, we need to figure out a way to compete and collaborate at the same time.
Precisely because at the end of the day, the challenges posed by AI are global in nature.
Right.
Think about climate change, for example.
Yeah.
AI could play like a huge role in finding solutions,
Yeah.
but that's going to require a coordinated effort from different countries.
You know, it's easy to get like bogged down in all the potential risks and challenges of AI, but
Yeah.
Buchanan also spends time talking about like the incredible opportunities it presents.
Yes.
He seems particularly excited about the potential for AI to like revolutionize fields like healthcare and scientific research.
He specifically highlights the potential for AI to accelerate drug discovery and lead to breakthroughs in treating diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's.
That would be huge.
It's an incredibly exciting prospect,
Yeah.
Especially for those who have been personally affected by these diseases.
It's almost like we're on the cusp of this new era of medical advancement.
Right.
But Buchanan also cautions that we need to be prepared for potential roadblocks.
Right. He points out that even if AI helps us develop these amazing new treatments,
Right.
we need to consider the real-world challenges of implementing them.
Like what kinds of things?
Think about things like regulatory approval processes,
Oh, yeah.
manufacturing capabilities,
Right.
even access to healthcare.
So we need to think about the whole ecosystem,
Exactly.
not just the technology itself.
We need to ensure that these potential breakthroughs actually reach the people who need them.
It sounds like Buchanan's main message is that we need to like adapt our systems and our thinking
Yes.
to fully embrace the potential of AI while also being mindful of the risks.
And that adaptation needs to happen on multiple levels,
Yeah.
from government policies to like individual mindsets.
Yeah.
It's about being proactive and shaping the future of AI
Right.
rather than just reacting to it.
He also suggests that this adaptation might require some pretty fundamental changes to the way we operate.
He uses the analogy of like upgrading our operating system to handle new software.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not just about like tweaking things around the edges.
Yeah.
It's about rethinking our fundamental assumptions about how work, governance, and even society itself should function in this AI-driven world.
That's a pretty powerful image. It's like we're standing on the threshold of this new era, and we need to upgrade our mental hardware to navigate it successfully.
And, this need for adaptation extends beyond just institutions and systems.
Okay.
Buchanan also talks about the potential impact of AI on the labor market
Right.
and the need to prepare workers for the transition.
This goes back to that pro-worker AI paradox we were talking about.
Totally.
How do you reconcile the potential for job displacement with the desire to use AI in a way that benefits workers?
It's a really complex issue. And Buchanan doesn't offer any easy solutions.
Yeah.
But he does emphasize the need for like more creative and forward-thinking approaches
Okay.
to workforce development. It's not just about retraining for specific jobs.
Right.
It's about equipping people with the skills and mindsets they need
Okay.
to thrive in a rapidly changing world.
So things like adaptability, critical thinking, problem solving,
Yeah.
the ability to learn and unlearn quickly.
Exactly. Those are the kinds of skills that are going to be in high demand in an AI-driven world.
Yeah.
And Buchanan argues that we need to start thinking about these things now
Right.
before the wave of AI disruption really hits.
It's like preparing for a hurricane, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to wait till the storm is upon you to start boarding up your windows.
You got to be proactive.
Yeah.
And, this preparation needs to be inclusive,
Yeah.
ensuring that the benefits of AI are shared broadly
Right.
and don't just accrue to like a select few.
Buchanan also touches on the idea that AI could potentially empower individuals in like new ways,
Yeah.
giving them access to tools and capabilities that were previously unavailable.
He talks about how AI could democratize access to information knowledge,
Yeah.
even creative expression.
That's pretty cool.
Imagine AI tools that can help people learn new languages,
Wow.
create art,
Yeah.
even start their own businesses.
It's an incredibly empowering idea.
It is.
And it speaks to that potential for AI to be a force for good in the world.
It's like the printing press all over again,
Yeah.
but on a much grander scale.
But just like the printing press led to both like positive and negative outcomes,
Of course.
so too could AI.
Exactly. It all depends on how we choose to use it.
So we need to approach AI with a sense of both caution and optimism,
Right.
recognizing both its potential for good and its potential for harm.
Absolutely. And we need to be actively involved in shaping the future of AI,
Right.
rather than just passively observing its development.
Buchanan seems to be arguing for a future where AI is a tool that empowers us,
Yeah.
rather than a force that controls us.
And that brings us to another key point that Buchanan emphasizes:
Okay.
the importance of open dialogue and collaboration when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
He sees it as crucial for ensuring that this technology is developed and used responsibly.
It can't just be like happening in a vacuum,
Right. He specifically highlights the need for international cooperation,
even with countries like China,
even with countries like China.
with whom we have, kind of a complex
Yeah.
and sometimes adversarial relationship.
It's like we're all in this together, whether we like it or not.
Right.
The challenges posed by AI transcend national borders.
One of the things that really struck me in Buchanan's interview was his discussion of dissect,
Oh, yeah.
that AI system that can write a complex research brief in minutes.
Right.
It's a stark reminder that AI isn't just some abstract concept.
Totally.
It's already having like a tangible impact on the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just research briefs, right?
Yeah.
AI is being used in like a wide range of applications, from healthcare to finance to transportation.
Right.
It's automating tasks, making predictions,
Yeah.
even creating art and music.
It's like AI is weaving itself into the fabric of our lives,
Right.
whether we realize it or not.
And that's why it's so important to have these conversations,
Right.
to understand what AI is, what it can do,
Yeah.
and what implications it has for our future.
We need to be informed citizens, engaged in the debate, and prepared to adapt to the changes that are coming.
Because the future of AI is not predetermined.
Right.
It's something that we are all shaping collectively
Yeah.
through our choices, our policies, and our actions.
And that's actually a pretty empowering thought.
It is.
We're not just like passive observers in this technological
Yeah,
revolution.
an agency.
Yeah, we have the ability to influence its direction
Yeah,
and ensure that it leads to a better future for everyone.
absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have a diverse range of voices at the table,
For sure.
including those who might not traditionally be involved in these conversations.
Like who?
We need to hear from artists, educators,
Yeah.
healthcare workers, everyday people from all walks of life.
Because AI is not just a technical issue.
Right.
It's a social issue.
It's a cultural issue.
It's a human issue.
And it's an issue that will affect us all in ways that we can only begin to imagine.
So let's keep talking, keep learning, and keep pushing for a future where AI is used for good and benefits all of humanity.
That's a great note to end on.
All right, so that wraps up our deep dive into the world of AI with Ben Buchanan.
Yeah, it was a great conversation.
Yeah, very thought-provoking.
A lot to unpack there.
A lot to unpack.
Right.
But Buchanan also brought up a really important point
What's that?
about the role of export controls in the AI landscape.
Oh, yeah. He talked about how the Biden administration used export controls
Right.
to restrict the sale of advanced AI chips to China.
Yeah.
He sees this as a way to slow down China's progress in AI development
Oh.
and buy the U.S. more time to focus on safety and coordination efforts.
Right. But it sounds like there's some debate about whether this approach is actually effective
Right.
or if it just ends up fueling more antagonism and competition.
It's a complex issue, and there are valid arguments on both sides.
Right.
Some argue that export controls are necessary to protect national security
Okay.
and prevent sensitive technology from falling into the wrong hands.
Makes sense.
Others worry that they could backfire, pushing China to become even more self-reliant
Right.
and aggressive in its pursuit of AI dominance.
It's a bit of a catch-22.
Yeah.
You want to maintain a technological edge, but you also don't want to escalate tensions
Right.
or trigger like an all-out AI arms race.
Exactly. And this is where the need for diplomacy and international cooperation becomes even more crucial.
Yeah.
We need to find ways to engage with China and other countries on AI, even as we compete with them.
It's like we need to walk and chew gum at the same time, right?
Precisely.
Compete and collaborate simultaneously.
And this brings us to another point of tension that Buchanan highlighted,
Which
the debate over the role of open-weight AI systems.
Right. He talked about how some companies like Meta and DeepSeek
Yeah.
have chosen to make the weights of their AI models publicly available.
And this has raised concerns about the potential for these powerful AI systems to be misused,
Yeah.
either intentionally or unintentionally.
It's like giving everyone access to the blueprints for building a nuclear reactor.
Wow. Yeah.
Sure, it could lead to some amazing advancements in energy production,
Right.
but it also increases the risk of someone building a bomb.
That's a very apt analogy.
And the Biden administration wrestled with this dilemma,
Right.
ultimately deciding to require companies to share safety test results for open weight systems,
Okay.
but not banning them outright.
So they were trying to find a middle ground between promoting innovation
Right.
and safeguarding against potential harm.
Exactly. But it sounds like the Trump administration is taking a different approach,
It does.
with Vice President Vance signaling a more laissez-faire attitude towards AI regulation.
So he seems to be prioritizing speed and opportunity
Right.
over caution and control.
It's a high-stakes gamble,
Yeah.
and only time will tell what the outcome will be.
But one thing is clear. The AI revolution is here, and it's moving fast.
It is.
We need to be prepared to adapt,
Yeah.
to innovate, and to engage in thoughtful and nuanced conversations about how we shape the future of this powerful technology.
And that future is not predetermined.
No.
It's something that we are all creating together through our choices, our actions, and our willingness to embrace both the challenges and the opportunities that AI presents.
Well said. I think that's a great way to frame it.
So that's it for today's deep dive into the world of AI.
It was a fascinating discussion.
It really was, but before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Okay, hit me.
If you could design the ideal government agency to oversee AI development, what would it look like?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What powers would it have?
Right.
And how would it balance the need for innovation with that imperative for safety and ethical considerations?
It's a question that deserves careful consideration
Yeah.
as we navigate this uncharted territory.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
And we encourage you to continue exploring this topic and share your own thoughts and perspectives with us.
It's so interesting how Buchanan compares the current AI landscape with historical, technological advancements.
Yeah.
He uses the example of the printing press
Oh, right?
to show how something so revolutionary can have both positive and negative consequences.
Yeah, that's a great point. The printing press democratized access to information and knowledge,
Right.
but it also, fueled religious conflicts and propaganda.
Right.
It's a good reminder that technology is a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
And just like with the printing press, we're kind of at this crossroads with AI, right? We have this opportunity to shape its development and use it in a way that benefits humanity.
For sure.
But we also need to be aware of the potential pitfalls.
One of the key challenges that Buchanan highlights is this need to find a balance
Yeah.
between fostering innovation and mitigating the risks.
Right.
He talks about how the Biden administration, grappled with this dilemma when it came to open-weight AI systems.
Right. On the one hand, you want to encourage the development of these powerful AI tools that can be used for everything, right?
Yeah,
From scientific research to creative expression.
absolutely.
But on the other hand, you don't want those tools falling into the wrong hands or
Wrong
being
hands.
used in ways that could harm people.
Exactly. And the Biden administration's approach was to require companies to share safety test results
Yeah.
for open-weight systems,
Okay.
but not to ban them outright.
Right.
It was an attempt to strike a balance
Right.
between promoting innovation and safeguarding against potential misuse.
But it sounds like the Trump administration is taking a different approach,
Yeah, it does.
with Vice President Vance signaling a more hands-off attitude towards AI regulation.
Right. He seems to be prioritizing speed and opportunity
Right.
over caution and control.
Do you think this shift in approach could have, significant consequences for the future of AI development?
It's certainly a possibility. A more laissez-faire approach could lead to a faster pace of development.
Yeah.
But it also increases the risk of unintended consequences.
Right.
It's like taking the safety rails off a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It might be a more exhilarating ride, but it also makes it more dangerous.
So it's kind of a gamble.
It is.
And we'll have to see how it plays out. But one thing that's clear from Buchanan's insights is that AI is not just a technical issue, right?
Right.
It's also deeply political.
Absolutely. The development and deployment of AI will have profound implications for everything,
Yeah,
from national security to economic competitiveness to social equity.
for sure.
And as we've seen with other, transformative technologies,
hmm
those implications will be shaped by the political decisions we make today.
This brings us back to Buchanan's call for a new way of thinking about AI policy and governance.
Right.
He seems to be arguing that we need to move beyond traditional approaches
Yeah.
and come up with more innovative and adaptive solutions.
He uses the analogy of upgrading our operating system to handle new software.
Oh, yeah.
We can't just try to fit AI into existing frameworks.
Right.
We need to reimagine our institutions and systems
Right.
to account for its unique capabilities and challenges.
And that reimagining needs to happen on a global scale.
Yeah, it does.
Buchanan emphasizes the need for international cooperation on AI,
Yeah.
even with countries like China,
Right.
with whom we have this complex relationship.
He seems to recognize that the challenges posed by AI are too big for any one country to solve alone.
It's true.
We need to find ways to work together
Right.
to ensure that this technology is developed and used responsibly for the benefit of all humanity.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AI, I think it's important to remember that the future isn't predetermined, right?
No, it's not.
It's something that we're all shaping
Yeah.
collectively through our choices and actions.
And that's both exciting and daunting.
It is.
We have the power to steer AI in a positive direction.
Yeah.
But we also have the responsibility to ensure that it doesn't lead us down a dangerous path.
Buchanan's insights have provided us with a lot to think about,
And
from the potential benefits of AI to the very real risks it poses.
absolutely.
So, as we conclude this episode, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. If you were in charge of developing AI policy for your country,
Oh, wow.
what would be your top priorities?
Yeah, it's a great question.
How would you balance the need for innovation with the imperative for safety and ethical considerations?
It's a challenging question,
It is.
but it's one that we all need to grapple with as we navigate this uncharted territory.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today, but thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI.
It was a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking, and we encourage you to continue exploring this topic and share your own thoughts and perspectives with the world.
Absolutely.